Good morning. I'm glad to see everybody here today. Apparently our marketing scheme to get you all fixed on this date worked, and everybody's sitting here. That's wonderful. Good to see everybody. Yes, we are doing things a little bit differently today, tying up this fireside chat, if you will, along with Mike's sermon. And this was the brainchild of a couple of our congregation members. I'm not going to mention their names, but let's just call them Amanda Taylor and Amy Newmeyer. They approached Teresa and Mike with this concept, and they brought me in to kind of help facilitate it. I wasn't really sold on this style of presentation during a worship service, but I could not have been sold on a better time, given that it's about 2 weeks from Mike and his family's 4-year anniversary with our church. Absolutely. What this is a conversation, and it's not just me. This could be anybody in our congregation having a conversation with Mike, asking questions about concerns, just concerns, and sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. It's a concept. It's a new concept that we're working through, and this is not a Q&A, but you are invited to listen and be a part of the conversation. And since I've already brought it up, Mike, it's been 4 years. Mm-hmm. What do you think? How's it been? What were your expectations coming in, and have there been any surprises?
Well, gosh, I was just thinking about, it was just about 4 years ago. We were moving in a series of hot Arkansas August days. And in the midst of that, on our way here, we got a phone call that the carpet that the folks were generously installing into the house we were moving into wasn't going to be finished. And so we were going to have to move all of our stuff into half of the house where it was finished, and then be ready to move it to the rest of the house when it was. And then in the midst of that process, our air conditioner went, and again, it was hot August, Arkansas weather. But how God was in all of that, and how many of you so generously responded in helping to have that place ready, and responded in greeting us warmly and bringing meals and just welcoming us into the community and into the church and into your lives, and what a blessing that has been. People have been so wonderful, and even those inconveniences, even in them, we sense that God was in it, carrying us through, and God was in us being together, us, the Ulasewich family, and this church and this community. And every now and then I forget that, when there's an obstacle or something difficult or some conversation that we face together, and God reminds me, no, I'm still in this. We're still together. We're still here, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
What were your expectations coming into the church?
Well, the pastor nominating committee was, yes, not just Donn, but Donn was part of that, was very clear and good about communicating what y'all had been through. This church had been through some struggle, a split. Some folks had left this church about 10 months before I arrived, and so there were some challenges that we faced and that we knew would be there. We were aware of them, but you also brought up how many, the wonderful opportunities that were in that, new opportunities at a fresh start, and new ministries and dynamic opportunities for openness to what God is doing now, and that's really exciting in the church. And those opportunities don't come all the time,
Have there been any surprises?
Well, God always surprises us, and God's people always surprise us. in good and in sometimes less good ways. But that's part of ministry are those surprises, and we share in those together. Certainly, I have been surprised and continue to be surprised by the spiritual maturity of the people here. And just the talent that is here, the capabilities y'all have, it's a wealth of gifts that you have. Is just amazing to me. The generosity of spirit, the great staff that we have, and I hate to call you all volunteers, those who aren't on staff, those who aren't paid are volunteers, right? But you're really participants in ministry. Okay, I like to use that term. But you're volunteer participants in ministry. You share that. You share your time and your expertise and your strengths with the church, and that's always a wonderful surprise that people want to do that.
You mentioned some of the challenges that our church has faced. This church has faced some significant changes, some denominational changes over the last 5 to 10 years with some subsequent, significant membership loss challenges as we going forward. How do you think we've done with that? And what challenges do you think we're looking at today?
Well, the church is always facing challenges. We know there are challenges out in the world around us, but in terms of the challenges we have and do face, there's also some real celebrations that we can share and enjoy. It's not all about numbers, but just to look at the metrics and consider, that as a sign maybe of some good things happening. We were around 200 at that time. 200 members were around. I don't have the exact numbers, but we're around 250 now. So that's encouraging. We've met or exceeded our budget expectations each year. That's encouraging and something to celebrate. And it shows the generosity of God's people in this place. But beyond that, just the lives that have been changed here, the people that come to the church for some kind of aid, that receive it, whether it's food or help, assistance with bills or guidance, and people rallying around them who can help them for one reason or with one form of help or another, is amazing. Sometimes members need particular kinds of help, and y'all are so quick to rally around them and help them out in whatever way that you can. And then to think about just the exciting things that have happened here since then. Teresa Spraggins, who's was our director of Christian education, is now our director of family and intergenerational ministries, and that intentional shift from running programs to being involved in the ministry that we do is really exciting, and how we've tried to be intergenerational in the things that we do and the things that we are. And bringing on board Kayla White, how can we just even appreciate our gratitude for her being here in our midst, and Robert. They're standing in the back pretending we're not talking about them, but we are. That's right. And of course, Alex, and we look forward to him being back to play piano with us again too. But just those exciting things, that the people that we have here on board, those are great accomplishments. We could give all kinds of examples of successful, encouraging ministries that have happened here. But
what other challenges do you think we're facing? We could face.
Well, the challenges continue to be the challenges maybe that we've always faced, and maybe that most churches face. Your stewardship committee has shared that we continue to face budget issues, and even if we exceed our budget expectations for 4 years, it's the one year after that, the 5th year, that you don't, that hurts, right? So we continue to try to make people aware of where we are with the budget, so that y'all can respond. And but then there are other challenges in the church these days that most people probably don't think about, like communicating with you. If you look around the room, and do look around, go ahead and look around the room and the different ages represented here, and think about how every generation here really kind of prefers to be communicated with in a different way. It used to be a generation or two ago, the church could put something in the newsletter or the bulletin and people knew about it. But now we can't assume that. People want it on paper. People want it mailed to their house. People want it, sent to their email. Some people's email filters put it in the spam bin, and then we don't know where it went, And then other people want it on Facebook or Instagram, and then people still want you to, come up and tap on the shoulder and say, "Will you be involved with this?" We try from the pulpit and lectern to let you know things that are coming up, or put videos on the screen to. So we try in 6 to 8 to 10 different ways of telling you what's happening. But we need you to be patient with us, because it's hard to do that, and we have 2 less paid staff people in the office than we did back in those days. So, be patient and be watchful. Look for what's going on. Read the newsletter when you get it. Read your emails when you get them from the church. Look in your spam folder and see if that's where they all went, and that's why you're not getting them. But meet us halfway there, so you know what's going on, and so we can keep getting the word out to you. So,
something that I wanted to bring up personally is about 5 years ago. Our interim minister, Howard Reed, many of you remember him. In my opinion, a lovely man and a wonderful minister with a very difficult job. And he delivered a sermon that stuck with me that very Sunday. And he said it was a time of tumultuous feelings, and there was some great uncertainty and quite a bit of anxiousness. And Howard looked at us and quite frankly said, "You have a faith crisis." Boom! I was like blown away, and it stuck with me all these years. How would you respond? How would you respond to something like that?
Well, first of all, I agree. I didn't see Howard's ministry. I wasn't here with y'all. But as a minister who follows an interim, and you know that Howard put the work in with his heart and his soul, and that he cared, and he did the tasks of interim ministry with you all, and you all participated in that with him. You can tell. And so I applaud Howard. And I've told him that personally, face to face, how grateful I am that he preceded me and upon my arrival. But, in terms of talking about faith crises, I think the thing about faith is always calling us to take that step out in hope. Always taking that step when you don't necessarily know for sure. And so there's always a crisis of faith. There always is, I think. And there are crises that face us now, crises of faith that face us now. And I think one of those is complacency. Because, 4 or 5 years ago when we were going through that, there was a great sense of people stepping up and saying, we can't let this happen to our church. We've got to rise up together. And so many of you banded together, and you stood up and you said, we're going to help out, we're going to volunteer, we're going to pitch in and do what we can. And, what happens is when you get that sense that when you're in crisis like that, but then you get a sense that, well, things are a little bit more normal. We're okay. We've kind of almost made it, right? And then in the church, it's cyclical anyway. Everybody goes in and out of spells where you're more and less active. But when everybody's active at once, your fear is that everyone will rest and catch their breath at the same time. And there's the energy. It just left the room, And it's understandable, but we don't want to be spiritually complacent. We want to continue to rely on God, just as we did when we were in crisis mode. And we want to continue to let God lead and guide us and be energized by that. I remember, if you'll allow me to tell you a short story, I remember reading about a pastor who was driving his family. I think they were driving home from a vacation, and it was late at night, and he kept praying, God, God, don't let an animal jump out in front of us. God, don't let me fall asleep at the wheel. Please, Lord, help us get home safely. And they were about 2 blocks from home, and he breathed a sigh of relief, and he said, okay, God, I've got it from here. And you know what happened. A block later, he had a fender bender, It's those moments where we think, we've got it now, God. Thank you, that we really have to kind of watch out. So So that spiritual complacency, I think, creeps in. And then just division. There's so much out there, out in the world today that wants to divide people into polar opposites or into factions. And of course, that creeps into the church. And somewhere along the way, we've gotten the idea that to be in fellowship together, we have to be able to agree on everything. And I think what we need to be able to do is know what we do agree on. And that is we agree in our faith in Christ. And somehow that has to be enough as we seek those answers together to the tough questions we face. That's not to ignore the tough questions. It's just to say we're going to be grounded in our faith and seek answers together.
What do you see for us as next, big picture with First Presbyterian Church as part of the church, universal?
Yeah. Well, we have our own purpose statement, and if you look to the front of your bulletins, you'll remember that purpose statement. We joyfully seek to follow Jesus and extend God's loving community to all people. I don't have it in front of me. I got it right? I hope. Anyway, but joyfully extending God's loving community to all people. That we are nurtured in our faith together, and we hold on to our faith, and we seek to take that faith and share that faith and include others in that faith. And we need to continue to be mission-minded in that sense, that's our mission and purpose. However we do it, whether it's giving to people in need, whether it's inviting a friend to church, whatever it be, that's being mission-minded and involving people in the community, God's loving community. And then remembering that we are the church wherever we go, that we're the church gathered when we're here worshiping or fellowshipping or serving, and we're the church scattered when we leave this place and go home or go to our places of work. And actually, I think we have a video that's very much about being the church scattered.
Recently, I had the opportunity of going on the kids' mini mission trip, and I got to go to a ton of food pantries, and I got to help the people in need. I had a great time in Northeast Arkansas.
If you're not aware, Arkansas ranks nationally number 2 in childhood hunger as well as overall hunger. This is why AT&T created the Believe Arkansas initiative to help the most hunger-challenged individuals in Arkansas. We partnered recently with the Arkansas Food Bank and THV11 with their summer cereal drive. We also worked with Cricket, our partners, to help with the summer cereal drive within the Arkansas Food Bank's 33 counties, and Cricket went beyond those 33 counties, and one of those pantries was in Paragould, where the kids were helping in their mini mission trip. It was amazing to get pictures back during the mini mission trip to see the kids unloading a ton of cereal boxes from the Cricket truck and to know while at work that the work that we were doing with AT&T spilled over into our church life with the mini mission trip. And that's part of the reason I do what I do at work, and to know that our church family is branching out and supporting so many communities outside of just our local area.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda and Allie. Your experience of, Amanda's work had her doing this food drive to help people, and then Allie and the kids of the church that go on this mini mission trip end up distributing the food that they helped collect. How cool is that? That's cool. I mean, that's the church being scattered. Cool. That's the church being scattered in the world, doing amazing things. So grateful for that. And then one other thing you mentioned, you asked how do we respond to that. I think one other response is to constantly remind ourselves that this church has a heart for people who've been hurt in the church before. Whether you were hurt in an experience in this church or an experience in another church, there are a lot of people out there who call themselves the Donns, those who have done church and they're done with church for whatever reason. Maybe they felt judged, maybe they were hurt, maybe whatever it was. This church really has a heart for people who have had that experience. And we need to remember that feeling and remember our heart for them.
And also we have, we are about to turn the corner into a very high-speed time in the life of our church. This next 6 months are going to be very busy for anybody who might be seeking an opportunity to get involved. But we're going to be very, very busy in the next 6, 7 months.
We are. Lots of exciting things happening in the life of the church very soon. We just wrapped up VBS as we celebrated this morning. And then next week we'll be blessing backpacks for kids to return to school. Sorry, kids. But we'll bless your backpacks. And then Rally Day will be in a month. And then you're going to be hearing about a stewardship campaign and nominating committee, maybe calling you to ask you to consider praying service in the church. And pumpkin patch, that's right. I mean to skip over that. But and then before you know it, it'll be Advent and Christmas. And then we catch our breath before Lent and Easter start, So, lots of busyness, lots of opportunity to plug in and be involved.
And in 12 months, we'll be right back here having this conversation.
That's right.
I have so many notes. I really just have one more question. As a church, we have faced some challenges, and we've overcome tremendous challenges, and no doubt we'll have challenges going forward. But the way I'm looking at this, the way I see it, we have a mission statement as an organization. We have mission-minded people. We have a very faithful congregation, and we have a vision. So how do we get there?
Well, I think that we continue to try to work together and get as much involvement as we can. But it starts with not being anxious. Again, there's so much out there in the world that wants us to be fearful, wants us to be anxious. Because if we're fearful and anxious, then we'll turn to those people, those sources for the answers. But God constantly interacted with the people saying, don't fear, don't be anxious. I bring you good news. And we have good news to rest in, don't we? So we can rest in that good news. We don't have to be anxious. We need to be prayerful. We need to pray for the church because these are serious challenges we face, of course. But God has good answers for us if we prayerfully seek them. And to remember, the church has always been and always will be dependent upon lots of participants in ministry, lots of volunteer participants in ministry. So we need your involvement. We need you to come and attend. Just being here, bringing your energy, your smiles, your warmth, your prayers is important. Get involved if you can beyond that, but certainly at least, be involved, be here, help out in whatever ways you can. Of course, we always are grateful for pledges and tithes and offerings and for you sharing the gifts that you have. Donn, if you look around the room, it's really meaningful for me to do this every now and then, and just think about and remember all the people that help make what we do around here possible and continue to do that. The people that generously and sacrificially gave, many of whom are here, and some of whom have joined the Church Triumphant already, so that we can do what we do together.
Mike, those are all the questions I have for you. I would like to close my portion just by saying that we are certainly grateful for you and your family's presence here among us. We are truly blessed to have you as our minister. And thank you for spending this time with us today.
It is a blessing to be here and to be your pastor, for sure. One other thing, just to let you folks know, as you leave the sanctuary today, officers of the church will be at the doors with sheets of paper that have the list of committees in the church and little summaries of each committee, an elder's name attached to each committee. By the time we get to Rally Day, we're going to have more specific volunteer sign-up lists that you can sign up for to help out in specific ways. But in the meantime, if you'll read that list and prayerfully consider if there's a committee, if you're not already involved in a committee, prayerfully consider if there's a committee that you could get involved in and help out. But thank you, Donn, and thank you all so very much.